Glad to have you join us back. Now we move straight ahead to reviewing our national dailies. Let's take a look at what made it to the front pages of today's newspaper. We kickstart with Daily Trust. And the bolder headline states universities head for strike. That's on pages 3, 4, and 5 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And then just below the bolder headlines, why Barrow Port is still idle 6 years after commissioning, says Reps panel. And that's on page 25 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Just underneath, Kwankwaso ACF decry Alabarago market demolition, and that's on page 24 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And then also we have 420,000 Nigerian children at risk of malnutrition this year. That's on page 13 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Federal government hikes passport fees second time in 1 year. That's on page 6 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Do well to get yourself a copy to stay informed.
And moving straight ahead to the Guardian newspaper, surge in unruly fan conduct match, day violence plunge NPFL in crisis. You can find this, and it's a big story in pages 4 and 5 of the Guardian. FG approves lifetime salary for retiring senior officers. You can find this on page 7 of the Guardian. Tertiary institutions on edge as ASU, SSA, NIP, FG feud heightened strike fears. You can find this on page 6. And below the front page of the Guardian is kidnappers of Katsina couple, daughter demands 600 million ransom. You can find the story in page 29 of the Guardian. 2027, I'm not leaving an MPP, but open to discussion, says Kwankwaso. This is on page 3 of the Guardian. You can't intimidate us, ocean workers tell FG over withheld LG fund. This is on page 27. NMPCL vows to revive refineries, shops for $60 billion to expand capacity. Then the last headline to take is 2027. INEC fights back as ADC PDP demand probe of new voters record in Osun, page 6, and the Nigerian facing malnutrition, 79% food insecure, says FG. This is in page 7, and this is the much we can take in the Guardian.
All right, then we move straight ahead to the Vanguard newspaper, and the bolder headline states 2027 opposition parties battle INEC over voters' data. That's on page 5 of the Vanguard. Just above the bolder headline, Dangote Group Ethiopia signed deal to build a $2.5 billion fertilizer plant. That's on page 19 of the Vanguard newspaper. And the federal government ASU disagree over agreement. That's on page 8 of the Vanguard. I am under attack. Some people are plotting to unseat me. NNPCL GCEO Ojulari disclosed, and that's on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. And then Guild of Editors condemns killing of journalists in Gaza, and that's on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. And just below the bolder headline, 2027 Amici rules out stepping down, declares interest in ADC presidential ticket. That's on page 9 of the Vanguard. Terrorism, DSS files charges against 9 suspects over Benue Plateau killings. That's on page 6 of the Vanguard newspaper. And then court declines to stop Rivers local government poll as police restrict movement. That's on page 12 of the Vanguard newspaper. And lastly, diaspora inflows hits $600 million monthly, says Cardoso. That's on page 19 of the Vanguard newspaper. Do well to get yourself a copy to stay informed. Now, joining us to review some of the headlines on the pages of today's newspaper is Nuruddin Abdullah, editor of 21st Century Chronicle. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure. Good morning.
You're
Thank
welcome
you
to
for
Daybreak.
joining us today
All right, then, let's move straight ahead to Daily Trust. And the bolder headline says universities head for strike. It has been on the lips of, everyone, including students of the universities, lecturers, ASU, everybody. What is your take on this?
It's unfortunate that the federal government and ASU are trying to send students back home, particularly at this time. We had a sort of we have been away from this, I think, since the longest strike by Buhari, about 8 months, I remember. So academic activities are trying to take shape. Then suddenly, we have this. The minister is saying there is no agreement between the federal government and, if you go back to 1993, we had similar issue. It was during Babangida when, after some months of strike, he signed an agreement with us. But when he handed over to Anas Shonik in 93, the then Minister of Education, just like Dr. Alasa is saying now, saying that there is no agreement with ASU. He said that Ben Wabuzi, then a lawyer, said that no, it is unconstitutional, it is not valid for the federal government, to sign an agreement that it will give some section of its citizens money. Say that no, that amounts to the federal government checking out its sovereignty. But they told him that the agreement was there, and in law, when I say I owe you, you are denying it, but you have started paying. So the fact that you have started paying confirmed that I was dead.
Yes, of course.
So it was the same thing. And I think under the then Professor Tahir Jega, the country went for about the longest interaction by ASU, 9 months straight. So I think maybe that's what Dr. Alausa. And we have a new ASU president. And conventionally, the bigger you are, the more influential you are, how long the industrial action you lead in the ASU cycle. I think the president should intervene and stop this, because the parents, students will be at the receiving end. And with the economic situation, this is not something that the federal government should contemplate. But Dr. Alosa should be reprimanded. He should be reminded of the Ben Wabuze January 1993 era. He shouldn't plunge the country into. He's behaving like an ASU chieftain. That he wants his tenure as minister to witness or to record the longest strike. Because if they go on strike, then only God knows. And the minister, top 8, children are no longer here. So something is not good for the country and parents, and even for the government. You want ASU strike while you are preparing to go for an election, where you will seek re-election. So tinubu should call that man to order. Nigeria is not ready for any strike now. We have endured that of 8 months of Buhari that reduced ASU members to something else. Some have been reduced to become Okada people. Some were even selling their atmos as televisions and wanted people to feed, because they were staffed for 8 months. So we don't know how this, because the ASU chairman now is planning, this will be the mother of all the strikes. So maybe, that of 93 was 9 months. That of during Buhari's era was 8 months. So maybe now we'll have full year. So who knows?
Okay, let me take you straight to The Guardian and pick a headline. What piques the interest of most people is FG approves lifetime salary for retiring senior officers in some government agencies. What can you say about this headline?
I don't know. How is that impacting on the economy? And it's an irony. The government that has not yet started implementing the 70,000 minimum wage is now giving some officers, or reviewing the salary of public officers that we said that they are earning much, doing very little. This is not our priority. I think the federal government should look inwards. This is not our priority. Look at the reforms that the federal government is implementing. Look at the impact it's had. It has drastically reduced the purchasing power of most Nigerians. It has jacked up inflation, and so on and so forth. Then you come at the, what for? It's unnecessary. The president, like they say in Hausa, you're supposed to run or to walk briskly, then you are jumping. It's very unnecessary. The federal government has not yet started implementing the 70,000 naira minimum wage. Yes. Then why all this? These are distractions. Needless. And let me remind them, we are heading to an election. So if he wants his reforms to continue to be sustained, then he should do what will appeal to majority of Nigerians. Majority of Nigerians. All programs should be public-centric. But if you decide to pick just a fraction, not even a fraction, just section of the country to appeal to them, then they are in for a surprise.
All right, and still on The Guardian, and the same headline is also on Daily Trust, so I'll just merge the two together, talking about Nigerian facing malnutrition, 79% food insecure, says federal government. What is your take on this?
These are the issues that the federal government should concentrate on. So many factors are responsible for this. Majority of Nigerians live in the rural areas. Northwest region, the 7th state in the Northwest, I think maybe if you remove Jigawa and Kano to a certain extent, all the other states are affected by banditry. Banditry has driven people out of their original home states. They are now patching some uncompleted building schools in the urban areas. So they are not farming, which grossly affect their economy, their income. They can't even farm, so they can't feed. Malnutrition set in. People who have been farming, securing food for their own are now IDPs. They live at the mercy of donors. You understand? So this should be the major concern of the federal government, not increasing salaries of some people that have not been, nobody even know what they're doing. No KPI, no schedule. Majority of them over-bloated. The work that can be done by 5 people, you see 20, 30 people doing it. I think this should be a concern. And, this affects the population of the young ones. So when you have a very underfed population, who's going to work? The people that are retiring and you're doubling their salaries, I want to feel? No. So this should be the priority of the president, not increasing salaries of people that you are increasing. Let's say you are increasing the salaries of, they are reviewing the salaries of senators or House of Reps. That Nigerians are even saying that role should be on part-time basis. They spend half of their globe-trotting. So it should be part-time. You are elected from your village, come to Abuja and sit and go back. We will give you honorarium.
Thank you so much, Nuruddin Abdullah, editor of 21st Century Chronicle, for coming to review our national dailies this morning.
So
Thank you very much for coming to Daybreak today.
On this note, we draw the curtains on Daybreak this morning. Thank you so much for sticking around. To everyone who called in to share their thoughts during our interactive segment, we say thank you. To the guests who made it to the studio this morning as well, we say thank you. Thank you so much for watching Daybreak. I am Mimana Bagodu.
Thank you very much for sticking with us. And tomorrow, 8 a.m., myself and Fatima will be here 8 a.m. on Saturday tomorrow to take you on an exciting 2 hours journey of Daybreak Extra. I am Mariam Idris. Have a nice day ahead.
Bye-bye.